Hey everybody, it's Outdoor Medic. I'm going to be coming at you with a video here. I'm actually going to be doing a video series. So this series of videos is going to be going over the top 5 essential items in each category of medicine that I think every person that owns, really wants to own their family's healthcare and to be able to take care of their family solely within the household, what they should really have. Keep in mind these are just suggestions. These are not things that are mandatory for everyone, but hopefully this will give anyone that's thinking about gathering some more medical supplies for the home, this will give them an idea of what they may be looking for, and I'll give an explanation as to each as we go along. This will be the first video in the series. This one will be going over the medical instruments that you'd need. Following that, we'll be doing some more top 5 series for medical supplies, and on top of that I'll be adding the prices into the video description below. Number 5. Alright, number 5 we have, this is a blood glucose kit. So what this is a kit designed to take the blood glucose of someone. It will give you the amount of sugar within their system. You typically see these for diabetic patients. They're going to be checking their blood sugars and things like that. Now, the reason why this is such a big deal is maybe you don't have a family member that has diabetes currently, but it's always a good idea to have something that you can check, not only for you but for people that you may come across or that may need your help. It's a basic diagnostic tool, non-invasive. The only thing you're going to be doing here is a little pinprick. You'll be able to see their blood glucose level. Obviously, for warning for all the instruments going into the future, you're going to want to have some sort of training and skill behind it. I will be doing some more videos in the future on the utilization of all of these, as well as some basic medical knowledge that I think everyone should have, but for this part, just the knowledge of having one of these, if you aren't able to use it, maybe there's someone that is with you at the moment that does know how to use it, and you'll be able to determine blood glucose level. So having this diagnostic tool is going to be great for any household, not just ones with diabetics in it. Alright, number 4 here, we do have, this is just your basic otoscope and ophthalmic scope. A lot of you probably are starting to realize what this is. You see it at the doctor's office. They pull it down from the shelf and take a look at you. This is just a cheapo one, but it does its basic job here. It does have a magnifying capability and is useful for intranasal and intraocular and ophthalmic uses when it comes to diagnostics. Some basic uses that you can use this for is your ear infections. It's much easier to determine an ear infection with a ophthalmoscope. You're able to actually see the infection within the ear. You can also see different mucous membranes within the nasal passageways that can determine upper respiratory infections. But this is a useful tool for your day-to-day sort of sick call type use. Alright, so for number 3 we do have, this is the a thermometer. This one here, obviously you don't see this one in stores very often. This is a Welsh Allen. This is some very high grade stuff. As you can see, I take temperature reading very seriously here. This one here costs close to $200. You don't need to splurge that high when you get a thermometer. Just your basic $10 to $20 ones that you find at Walmart are sufficient enough for what you would need one for. But the benefit to a thermometer is obviously the determination of fever, but this is great for determining the long-term effects, especially in children. So you want to make sure you get one that has some sort of rectal or under the armpit sort of diagnostic capabilities. Otherwise, it's not quite as useful for the reason why it's on this list. One of the biggest causes of medical death in children is respiratory failure. Respiratory failure can be caused by something as simple as a common cold or a flu. Being able to determine flu symptoms and fevers early on with these kind of tools will be critical for pediatrics and children. This one obviously has multiple different effects here. You're able to switch between locations as well as Fahrenheit and Celsius, and also children and babies. So this is one of the more high-grade ones, but even your basic ones are very useful for this particular purpose. Alright, number 2. This is a sphygmomanometer. So what that means, this is a blood pressure cuff. Blood pressure cuff is extremely useful. It really is a helpful determinant as to whether or not the body is having any sort of, obviously, cardiac conditions, but even just to notify yourself if whoever you're taking the blood pressure is obviously having some sort of questionable condition. And a slightly elevated blood pressure may not be a necessary worry, but if the person that you're taking a blood pressure on typically runs slightly lower, that's going to be an indicator that maybe something's not quite right, or it even could be as simple as just realizing that this person has had, one too many cups of coffee, but you can tell all of that with a blood pressure cuff. I will be doing a video later on talking about how to perform a blood pressure cuff reading with a stethoscope, a manual one. Alright, number 1, good old stethoscope. So the benefit of the stethoscope is obviously everyone thinks about it for lung sounds and being able to, make sure that they're breathing effectively. But this can also be used for a multitude of things. You can hear heart sounds, you can hear bowel sounds. A lot of those indicators, obviously, if you're hearing abnormal heart sounds, it could mean that they have a murmur, or they have what's known as a PVC, a preventricular contraction. Which could be another indicator that they might have some sort of cardiac issue going on. On top of that, for bowel sounds, not having any bowel sounds at all obviously indicate that they may be having a bowel obstruction. Very key things that you'd be using the stethoscope for. On top of that, you're obviously able to use this in conjunction with the blood pressure cuff to obtain a diastolic blood pressure, which is the bottom number. Your systolic is the top, your diastolic is the bottom. So without this, you'd only be able to get the top number. Multitudes of uses. You always want to make sure you get one that has double-sided. This one's a lot easier to be used on children, this side. I always would recommend anyone that's wanting to get a stethoscope to get a very good one. The better quality, that you really get your money's worth for these. So one of the things that you can see here is this is a Littmann. Littmann makes some of the best stethoscopes out there currently. I believe this one here was close to about $60, and this is one of their lower end ones, but it still works fantastic. Alright, that's number 5. Or I mean number 1. Alright, going through it again, we do have number 5, the blood glucose meter. We have your otoscope, a thermoscope, we have your thermometer, your blood pressure cuff, and your stethoscope. Some things to keep in mind with this is all of this together for me, for these items, cost probably roughly $300-ish. But you could get ones, and I will show include some much more basic ones in the description below via Amazon that I think that you could also get that would not be quite as maybe not as high-tech as this thermometer or things like that, but still everything that you would need to care for your family. What we have here is not the kind of budget you'd be looking at. You'd probably be looking at closer to maybe $100. Now, that may seem like a lot considering it's only 5 items, but you really got to remember that one of the reasons why you're getting these items in the first place is diagnostic. You can't decide if you're going to do this treatment over this treatment for a family member without being able to really get an idea of what's going on. If you're trying to, say, give Tylenol for a fever, but you check the thermometer and it comes out 99.2, you may determine that that's not really the best idea for the person, and thus Tylenol may not be what you really want to do. Fever reduction at that point wouldn't be useful. So remember, diagnostics is one of your best tools when it comes to proper management of your family and patients in general. But this is your bread and butter of medicine, is going to be determining what is the actual problem. So feel free, comment, like, subscribe. Let me know if there's anything that you would have added, anything that you think I shouldn't have added, and just let me know what else you'd like to see for the next top 5. Thanks guys, and I will see you in the next video.